Hey, g'day. Here we are. It is croaky throat. It is it's the 13th of November here in New Zealand. It's I'm trying to think what I'm doing. It's chat with Matt. Chat with Matt. Half an hour chat on the Montara public page. Here we are. And I have no pre-recorded questions, no pre-requested questions. So I'm here to work with whoever turns up live to chat about what's going on. We're obviously on the backside of the full moon. It was about 2:30 in the morning my time. It's 9 now. It's about 6.5 hours ago. So it's always nice to be on the other side of that. I had quite a nice meditation this morning, which is to be expected on the backside of the full moon. Nice level of intensity without the sort of the anxiety that sort of comes pre-full moon. That's my experience anyway. I don't need to indoctrinate you into that, but just putting it out there for perhaps your awareness. So yeah, it's a good time to meditate. We're also on the backside of 11/11. That energy is still quite prevalent, because the Americas have only just moved out of 11/11, 7 or 8 hours ago, I guess, depending on where you are. Hawaii was 11/11 only about 7 hours ago. So, I think, no, 10 hours ago. Anyway, let's not quibble. I'm quibbling amongst myself. So anyway, yes, 11/11 is still around. So all sorts of energies with that, lots of expectations about what's supposed to happen or what you're supposed to do, more to the point. Not a few people yesterday contacted me, say, what am I supposed to be doing for 11/11? And I said, same thing you do every day. Stay connected with yourself, stay open to change, keep breathing into your most expansive version of yourself and let it unfold, right? That's what we do every day. A lot of people get very hung up on these quote-unquote special days and think they're supposed to make a special effort. I think you'll find you'll make much better progress if you make every day a special day. Every moment's a special moment. Every moment is your life as good as it gets. And to hang off or to make special effort on particular days to try and achieve something that you're not really committed to, working towards every single day of your life, every single moment, is kind of defeats the purpose. It's kind of like, it's a shortcut. We're supposed to make use of these special days, and that means I don't need to think about, being the best version of myself at other times. Of course, we get lost in our day-to-day world. That's perfectly normal for all of us. I'm not expecting, certainly don't manage to maintain any kind of superhuman focus on my purpose throughout every single day, every single moment. But the point is not to think that these opportunities are super special, and that if you don't want to miss the opportunity to make great progress for less work. That's the underlying vibration here, is these opportunities let you make great progress with less work, and so many people are trying to minimize the amount of work they do towards their outcome. They're just shortchanging yourself. Because while I'm not one to advocate for, hard work is the way to win, the game of life that's been sold to us very much through our education system, that if you work hard, just keep working hard, sacrifice yourself, that you'll be rewarded with happiness. And we know that that's not true. Many of us have tried that. It's not true. But at the same time, thinking that you can bypass doing any work, quote unquote, or, maintaining your intentions, if that's what we call work, which, a lot of people do feel that maintaining their intentions is work. It doesn't have to be, by the way. Work's an interesting concept that, again, has been a little bit manipulated by our society and different connotations in different ways. We get strung out on these words like work, lots of other words as well. Language is a very, very funny medium for using to communicate with each other, but it's the best we've got at the moment, in the majority of cases anyway. But yes, so investment yields dividends. Investment yields dividends. If you think you're going to just, invest nothing and get paid heaps, then, you're pretty much deluded. It doesn't work that way. You know, the winning lotto scenario mentality is, you know, big on our plane, but it's not very beneficial. This idea that, you know, I'm just going to get lucky. If I just keep wanting it enough, it's going to come to me. I think we can definitely say that that ain't the case, right? Wanting is an indication or a reinforcement of your lack mentality, and keeps you out of the outcome that you are quote unquote wanting. There's a big difference between holding intention to move towards something, which involves taking inspired actions, and just wanting it, right? There's a lot of people who are very big into wanting, and if wanting actually worked, there'd be a lot of people who are doing a lot better on this planet. Because there's plenty of people who want to be rich and very few people who are. Not that, you know, being rich by any stretch of the imagination is the secret to happiness. I think we're seeing more and more people. I just saw something on Facebook. I can't even remember who the guy was, Alex someone, who was put a big post on about how he's basically downsized everything that he had, you know, purchased because he realized that all of the richness, all of the purchaseness, all of the wealth that he'd accumulated wasn't yielding happiness. And he had realized that his happiness was really in living his purpose, which for him was his business. But he was distinguishing the difference between people who are in business to make a lot of money and people who are in business because they're dedicated to their business. They feel it's their purpose to be in that business. As a facilitator, I can definitely, you know, resonate with that, because for us, those of us who really are aligned with being a facilitator, a coach, a healer, someone who's here to help, a heart-centered service provider of some description, no matter what that service is. It doesn't need to be esoteric services, right, for it to be a heart-centered service business. But many of us who are in the game, or in the driven by the purpose to serve others, know that money is not our primary objective. Of course, those of us who aren't quote unquote earning enough money to survive comfortably tend to get railroaded into trying to make more money, wanting more money, which unfortunately tends to create a whole heap of contraction and take us really out of our joy, which then makes it harder for us, ironically, to earn the money, right? Because what I've found is when we can acknowledge that we do desire more money so that we are more comfortable and we can deliver our services more effectively, but yet maintain our attention on delivering our services in a very heartfelt way. I've noticed I haven't seen any notifications at all this morning, not who's joined, not anyone writing anything. I'm just trying to swipe sideways to see if they'll come back. Maybe I'll check on here, because someone could be writing in something and I'm just in my monologue. But anyway, what I was saying, when you can focus on where your real passion is, what you really desire, what really lifts your vibration, which for people like you and me generally is doing our service work, feeling that we are contributing, that we are being purposeful and helpful, and we get that real hit of, you know, just beyond the egoic satisfaction of I'm doing it right, but the real deep heart-centered satisfaction that I'm making a difference to other people, and I know that that difference is going to ripple out, because as I empower someone, I know they're going to go on and empower others, right? We're going to see this grassroots movement of higher vibration, higher thinking, more aligned, purposeful, empowered, authentically confident, heart-centered people who are going to make a big difference in the vibration of our society and the vibration of our communities, and will affect how communities evolve and in turn will be led, right? I don't see that the leaders are going to affect great change. I feel that the grassroots movement will influence our leaders to be much, much better, right? Because leaders lead based on, especially political leaders lead based on what appeals, right? What the vibration, you know, they're popular for a reason, because they appeal to the majority. So as the majority vibration rises, so too will the quality of our leaders by default. And so if we're expecting a, you know, Messiah-like leader to come and change the vibration of the whole of our community, society, I think we're deluded, right? Community has to change first, then the leader will appear. So that's my mission, and I know many of you are also on a similar mission, whether you've identified that as a mission or not, or whether it's just a deep yearning which you haven't quite yet come to, label might not be the right word, but come to name or identify. Then it's about really helping to shift the vibrations from within. I forgot what I was talking about to start with, but it's this idea of getting out of wanting and getting into intention and focusing on our purpose from that, right? And taking inspired action toward that. I'm going to try and find myself on here live to see if there are actually comments coming in from those of you who are on this call, because Facebook is showing me nothing today, and I'm not sure why that is. It just seems to be the luck of the draw sometimes. And then again, once I'm here, I can see that there are actually no comments. So awesome. If you are on this and you do have something you would like to ask or request or comment on, please feel free to do that, and hopefully I'll see it here, and if not, I'll see it here, because I've got both running now. As long as I don't get sucked into the vortex of this one's running 15 seconds behind this one, then we'll be all good. What else is going on? I've been talking a lot about balance, and I've just been writing about balance as well, so watch out for a Facebook post coming your way soon about balance. Basically because I've, been tipped over the edge with a number of people asking me about or complaining that they're not balanced, or asking about how they can achieve balance. And, after further inquiry, we realized that no one really knows what balance is, but everyone seems to want it, or everyone seems to identify the fact that they're not balanced enough, and that's why they're not happy. So yeah, I've been ranting a little bit about that. The light language session last night had quite a bit in it. That was, delivered live to people here on the Kapiti Coast, as I do every full moon. Yeah, I don't know if I need to go deeper into ranting about balance again, because I've been on it. I've been on it for a couple of days. What's next on my rant list? That's good. I've got a list of what things to rant about. Should I have a look? What else can I rant about in case, while I'm waiting for perhaps someone to ask me something so that I can... Oh, here we go. Here we go. So, Sister MK. Balance is the furthest thing from my mind right now, says MK. Climate change sucks. Hello from snow-drenched, freezing cold Toronto. Yeah, well, climate change is what it is, and I can definitely rant about climate change because it's been painted. It's definitely, I feel there's a lot of manipulation around this topic, and our climate's definitely changing, and we're definitely having more and more extremes. But what is causing that is up for contention. I believe personally that there's a lot of climate engineering going on that's far beyond the fact that we've been creating more carbon dioxide, right? I believe a lot of this shit that they've been spraying into the air over the last decade, particularly, is causing a lot of these issues, both the fires, right? Because it's aluminium, aluminium it burns, right? Aluminium oxidizes when it's, so this shit's been settling on our forests, and our forest fires have been getting more and more insane, both in California and in Australia and in other parts of the world, many other parts of the world, the Amazon and whatnot, right? And also, the shit they're spraying in the air creates more precipitation, not necessarily widely, but definitely in intensity, including snow, right? And so a lot of these intense snowstorms is caused by what they're spraying in the air. not particularly the fact that the climate or the temperature is changing, although it is an issue and it is interesting to understand or to think about why it is. I wish I was seeing my comments here because I'm going to miss them looking up here as I talk. But anyway, I'll try and keep one eye down here. It's not going to work. Anywho, so yeah, climate change, it is a real issue. But what I would like to help people to get out of is, one, guilt that we're doing the wrong thing every time we burn anything or do anything. And two, I'm very, I want to admit right now that I am an environmentalist since year dot, basically, and I don't believe we should be doing nearly as much mining of fossil fuels. I don't believe we need to be burning them nearly as much. I don't believe we should be making nearly as much plastic and all of that crap either. There are many, many options that are not linked to fossil fuels, the petroleum industry, the coal industry. I don't believe nuclear energy is the solution either. I do believe in a lot of renewable energy is very, very available to us. But unfortunately, what I don't like is the way that the capitalist model, and I'm not a quote-unquote communist either, but what I don't like is the way that we're being manipulated into, or the general population is being manipulated into solutions that aren't necessarily the best solutions, but they have an economic, there's people with economic gain here twisting the stories. So, yeah, so I understand that that's the story that's being sold, that the ice caps are melting and is creating colder air coming down south sooner or longer. I'm still not 100% sure of this, MK. That's the truth. I still feel that there's a lot of other stuff going on that isn't being divulged, and the science is being well tainted, manipulated, twisted to suit other agendas. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. That's it. But yeah, I do feel for people who are, definitely, living in marginal climates, and I would consider Toronto a marginal climate myself. I know I couldn't live there. And, whether that's how it's going to unfold over the next decade will be interesting, because we may see, some very big mass migrations of humanity to live in climates that are more conducive to survival, right? Because living in freezing cold weather is really not sustainable. You talk about burning fossil fuels. How do you live in such a climate without burning a shit ton of fossil fuels, right? Which in turn perhaps is extenuating the circumstances of how freaking cold it is. That's the point. But yeah, I get you. It's ridiculous that winter is already hit in your part of the world. For me, it was ridiculous that winter is still here. Yesterday, or was it the day before, we had a very cold day here on the Kapiti Coast. And we're supposed to be coming into summer. We're supposed to be into summer. It's, halfway through November. Anywho, the point is, my friends, is not to get caught up in guilt and not to get caught up in fear, but really to do what we can in any particular moment. Focusing on problems never has solved the problem. Focusing on outcomes is what creates solutions. Focusing on the outcome that we desire creates a solution. What the solution is, we have to be open about. We have to be out of the box about, because many of us are box thinking around what we want to have happen, and potentially that ain't going to happen. So how else can we achieve the outcome that we desire? That's the point. And are we willing to do that? Are we willing to get out of our box and work towards an outcome, or allow the intuitive guidance to arise that's well left field about how we can achieve our outcome, which might not look like any solution that we perceive as possible, right? So that's it. How do we do that? And it requires a lot of courage on our part, internal courage, to really relax out of, and it does require, you know, with that courage, it requires a discipline to choose not to be overly indoctrinated with the messaging that's being put out by media channels, not just mainstream media, but even side stream media, and society in general. There's a lot of fear-based, quote unquote, propaganda being spread because fear sells and fear is popular and fear's desired by our mind. Our egoic mind is very predispositioned to looking at whatever's dangerous, because our egoic mind is preoccupied with our survival. So if something seems to be, you know, creating an issue for us to survive, then we get very, very fixated on it, and we can be fed all sorts of misinformation through that fixation. And so it takes a deal of discipline or dedication to our heart to stay out of this mentality of feeding on fear-based information that's being fed to us and elevating it in its importance in our life. It robs us of our ability to really advocate for the outcome that we really want, you know, to live in peace and joy and happiness and comfort, climactic comfort. I meant, you know, as in climate, but also be called climactic, comfort, and from there. Okay, so sending love and energy to Mother Gaia is a great approach, Sister MK. Funny, I found myself crying watching the snow yesterday. That's never happened before. Was I picking up energy from elsewhere? Potentially, MK, there's a lot of, yeah, there's probably a lot of grief that it's snowing so hard so early in your part of the world, right? So the whole of society will be grieving that, because it is basically a loss of freedom, right? When it snows like it snows in Toronto, then you're basically friggin' housebound, right? Because it's so friggin' dangerous to go outside. It's cold and it's slippery and it's, you know, because Toronto's also hilly to some description. It's hard. You can't drive around and can't walk around, and trams and all shit stops, right? So it's massive. It's massive. It's like a prison sentence when it snows to that level. I don't know, you know, you Canadians in Toronto managed to get out anyway, whereas, you know, there'd be no freaking way I'd be going anywhere near the door, because you're used to it in a level, but still it is what it is, right? So yeah, picking it up. And so many people, you know, in other parts of the world, when it snows and when it's snowing lightly, it's so beautiful that those tears that they're crying could be potentially tears of joy, that it looks so beautiful and the white settling on the ground and da-da-da-da. But in your case, you know, that snow falling wasn't a beautiful sight anymore. There's a beauty to it, but you're feeling the grief of it. And then with that uprising, you know, you mentalize what's caused this, what the problem is, and this fixation comes on to, you know, climate change, global warming, this and that, and, you know, all of the rest of it, ice caps melting, which you can't do much about as a person, right? Which then leaves you feeling even less empowered, which creates more grief, right? And potentially, you know, sinking into what we might call depression. Very easy to happen in the situation you're in, right? Because if you allow yourself to fixate on things that you can't change, feeling that you're the victim of them, right? Because it's snowing, and but the snowing's been caused by, you know, things that you're angry about. It's very, very hard. It is very, very hard. So definitely have compassion for all of you in that situation. This is MK again. For a lot of people, yes, they become housebound because people don't shovel the sidewalks. We actually got through pretty well yesterday in terms of getting around. Yeah, Awesome. But, you know, so the point is that yesterday is just the start of it, and that's what you guys realize, and that it has come earlier than normal to this intensity, and that's what's, you know, creating a level of grief through society. So acknowledge that, you know, you're, as an empath, as a sensitive, you're feeling it and you're expressing it, and that's not a wrongness. And it is a matter of taking a deep breath, finding acceptance around that, and working into what really serves you right now. How can you really find your joy? What's your big outcome? And how can you step towards your big outcome despite the fact that it's snowing outside, right? Despite the fact that the ice caps may be melting, and what that means long-term for Toronto. You don't know, but you've got this moment right now to live, and that's where your life is. So how do you make the most of that? And how do you step towards, you know, your best outcomes? Because that's where it is. That's where your life is. You can't lose yourself to potentials in the future any more than you want to lose yourself to the goings-on of the past. It's here and now. And in every moment of here and now, we have opportunities, we have potentials, we have the ability to act in an empowered way, whatever that might look like. And it doesn't need to be a big grandiose action step. But it does want to be something that really expresses the truth of who you are, right? And so it's a matter of choosing to access the truth of who you are and to be willing to express it in bold, perhaps, or courageous ways, and to step into that, right? To step into that. That's it. That's it for all of us. It's very, very easy to get caught up in fear about the future or resentment about the past, but it's just robbing us of the joy of now. We all have the opportunity to do what we feel to in the now, in some way. Of course, you know, many of us are carrying stories that we want to do this, but we don't have that opportunity. And therefore, you know, again, we're resentful that we don't have the opportunity to really be the best version of ourselves right now. But we have to build into these things. It's not like winning lotto. It's not that some people just get lucky and they're able to express themselves as themselves in the moment of now. They've worked towards it through consistent action steps. They've worked towards it through maintaining consistent intention, which is rewarded by you know, outcomes arising. So we have to be willing to do the process, and it's difficult to start. Definitely difficult to start, because we're holding these intentions and we're not seeing the opportunity to really step into it. So we can only do what we can do with what we've got available to us, which might be less than what our ego wants us to do. That's the point. Our ego gets in and wants it to be a bigger show than what we're capable of, based on the foundation that we've currently built. So we have to, you know, working on foundations is boring. I'm an ex-builder. I know how much time you can put into working on foundations, and, you know, the person who's paying you to do the work comes around and they don't see much bang for their buck for quite some time as you're working in the foundations, right? Nothing seems much to be happening. There doesn't seem to be much progress until you get the foundations down and the floor down. And then all of a sudden the frames stand up, the roof comes on, and they go, oh, wow, there's a house here, right? It happens. That bit happens quite quickly. Then the finishing touches slow right down again and people get frustrated again. So there's this frustration at the start while you're building foundations. But if you do them shoddy, right, and build your house on shoddy foundations, then you're going to pay for it big time later, right? Big time later. So the point is, we have to be willing to maintain our intentions, to do what we can with what we've got while we're building those foundations, to breathe through the process of releasing and getting rid of a lot of old energies, right? Rocks in the ground or whatever that are preventing us from really stepping up and stepping forward. So it's a matter of being patient but consistent with the process of breathing in and expanding in to who we're here to be. Trying to make sure I haven't missed any comments. Yeah. So that's kind of half an hour already gone. It was a bit of a rant, a bit of climate change, a bit of talking about balance and whatever else. I can't even remember what we've talked about, but that's it. Chat with Matt. I don't know if that was good or not. You can let me know. Much love. I'll be back again next week. Feel free to write me in a question, to send me a topic, to allow me to help you in whatever specifics might be concerning you, right? I can work as broadly or as focused personally as you like, right? It's open forum. Okay, my friends, much love to you all. Keep on keeping on. Stay in the moment, right? There's all sorts of opportunities right now, 11/11, full moons, all of this stuff that's intensifying and giving us greater opportunity. But ultimately, what's going to carry you forward is your consistency, right? Choosing to stop and to breathe and to connect with who you are, choosing to do your practices, your meditations, your journaling, your exercise, whatever it is that helps you stay aware of your connection to the all, right? We're working with Unity Consciousness this month, and not to get lost in, oh, I'm just the, I'm the all, so therefore my personality doesn't matter. No, your personality is an expression of the all that's helping to define the all, and it is a very, very important part of the process. So it's not that we lose ourselves to this idea of unity consciousness, all right? We maintain a balance, all right, that word that I've been ranting about, between allowing ourselves to understand that we are much bigger and all-encompassing, and we are also this personality, this individuality, this individual aspect of the all, having experiences, and there's nothing wrong with that. So allow yourself to just progress and to move forward. No worries, Sister Jeanette. Enjoy your parents, Sister MK. Much love to you all, my friends, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye for now. Namaste.